This is an Atari 2600 and this is an Atari 2600 Plus. This one was released in 1977 or 1978 in most parts of Europe, and this one was released 46 years later in 2 days' time as of the release of this video. What's the difference? Not a whole lot, quite frankly. They both do the same things, besides this one playing on old fat get your forklift out or break your back TVs, and this one plays on one of those newfangled flat screen TVs. And again, not a whole lot else. I suppose the big question now is this any good? Well, you'll be happy to hear that over the last half a week I've been putting this thing through its paces, and I'm going to be discussing my findings, good and bad, in this video. Thank you to Atari for sending me this review unit for this non-sponsored review. Let's get to it. Firstly, let's get the cosmetics out the way. My Atari 2600 came in what is possibly, no scrub that, without a doubt, the sexiest box I've ever seen in any kind of promo package or press pack or whatever. This truly is an incredible way to show off your system, and it's a shame that it's not going to look like this when it comes to market. But considering it's only £100, my guess is if it did come with all of this, you would need to double the markup price at least. Still, massive thank you Atari for packaging this up so bloody nicely. I'm looking forward to seeing how much these bad boys go for on eBay. Ha ha ha, only joking. Now inside my new big and beautiful Atari box, we of course have the unit itself, a brand new CX40 Plus joystick and a 10-in-1 cartridge which features the following games: Adventure, Combat, Dodgem, Haunted House, Maze Craze, Missile Command, Real Sports, Volleyball, Surround, Video Pinball and Yar's Revenge. And this is everything that comes with the standard package, by the way. But on top of that, I also have the enhanced version of Berserk, a brand new game, Mr. Run and Jump, and finally a 4-in-1 cartridge that includes Breakout, Canyon Bomber, Night Driver and Video Olympics, along with its twin paddle controllers too. But of course, that wasn't enough for this review. If I was going to be putting this system through its paces, I needed original hardware, and sadly, I lost my original Atari 2600 several years ago in a house move, and then I gave my games away to a collector because I didn't have original hardware anymore. So of course, I needed to go and get some original hardware. Thankfully, the awesome folk at Level Up Games in Canterbury loaned me a whole heap of cartridges, systems and controllers, so make sure you send them a message thanking them, and be sure to go and visit them if you are in Kent yourself. They've been huge supporters of the show for years and are genuinely very nice people. Links down below. Now, the reason I wanted to get all of this is because both of these systems should work with each other. These old games should work on the new system, and the new games that came out for the new system should work on the old system as well. But on top of that, we can now better compare the size of the system with the original Atari VCS, its later and more well-known rendition, the 2600, which this one is based on, and heck, let's chuck in another VCS in there too, 2021's Atari VCS. As you can see, they've captured the style and significance pretty much perfectly. A truly iconic landmark in gaming that has been recreated here pretty accurately, albeit about 20% smaller than the original. Besides that, everything is pretty much spot on. They both have 12 black strips leading down to the wood grain front, which is ever so slightly lighter on the Plus model than the original, although in all honesty, I never noticed this when they were side by side, only when they were literally touching each other. Both the power and TV type buttons are here and do indeed feel a little more stiff this time round, although this could be because they haven't been used for 40 years like the original. However, both the game select and game reset switches feel just as spongy as each other, no matter the model. The text on the top of the console was moved, probably because the gumph on the back has of course been slightly updated. The power slot is now on the far right instead of the center, and we are using a USB-C cable here, and yes, like all of the mini consoles, this can be powered on by the USB power of your TV. HDMI is in the center, replacing what used to be the power, and finally the channel 2-3 switch on the left has been changed to a 16:9 and 4:3 button, something you're never ever going to need to change. So let's boot this bad boy up. As soon as you turn on the system, you'll get a nice little glow show up on the console logo itself, and a big fat white logo appears on the screen. There's no fancy jingle, no little animation, no menu, and of course no pre-installed games. Not yet anyway. Now on the original Atari 2600, once you've put your game in and you turn it on, the game loads up instantly, within not even a second. Off, on. It goes in there straight away. However, on the new Atari 2600 Plus, that's not the case. You need to wait roughly 3 or 4 seconds for this game to get dumped onto the hardware so that you can emulate it onto your new fangled TV. This is commonplace for all emulation devices. You may have heard of the Retron 5, I've got the Retro Freak, they're very similar systems, and that's exactly what this is. It's an emulation device, which makes it very, very different than the Mega SG. More on the differences in just a bit. Of course, when you are in, the emulation is pretty much perfect. In fact, I would say that it is perfect. Now, I'm not a channel that goes into detail of every single pixel with a fine microscope, but from what my eyes can tell me, this is as crisp as it gets. And if you don't want that for your retro gaming, tough. The Atari 2600 Plus does not feature any other mode types than hard pixels, or at least I haven't found any way to add scan lines or a slight fuzzy colour that somehow bounces off close by pixels that you would find on original hardware being played on an old TV. Personally, I'm absolutely fine with that. I never ever put any filters on with my emulation. I like things as hard and crisp as possible. But I'm not everyone. Some people do like these features, and it's a bit of a shame that they weren't at least added for the people out there that would like to add them. In fact, this entire thing is a no bells and whistles type of machine. The world of gaming has come a long way since the 70s, and all of those enhancements over the last 50 years are missing here, which is exactly what they're going for. The joysticks are still crazy stiff. Here's my son wanting to play Mr. Run and Jump, realising how hard it is to use the new Atari joystick and then just quickly giving up. You enjoying it, mate?
No.
Why can't you move the controller?
It's really stiff.
Yeah, it's a brand new Atari 2600 controller. Oh no. That is stiff, is it? Unlike other mini consoles, the cord is still about as long as it was in the 70s. In other words, it's pretty damn short. And to make it worse, you plug these short cords into the back of the console, which has a significantly shorter lead that plugs into your TV than it ever did in the 70s. Ah, nostalgia, am I right? For me, I actually think the Atari VCS from 2021's joystick was a huge advancement over the old original joystick from the 1970s. And the good thing about that stick is that I can even plug it into my PC to play classic Atari games on compilations like the incredible Atari 50 set. But you're not going to be able to plug that in here. There's no USB ports on the outside or even inside of this console. Don't worry, I've checked. It is just simply an Atari 2600, about 20% smaller with an HDMI out and nothing more. Meaning that this system is really only going to be suitable for one sort of gamer. Someone that has a whole heap of Atari 2600 games and 7800, because this can also play those, I just don't have any to test on it. Look, I get it. I'm a big Mega Drive or Genesis collector if you prefer, and if Sega officially released a similar product for only £100, I would be all over it. But would it replace my original hardware? No, it wouldn't. But this did. This again is my Mega SG, and because of the FPGA chip found inside, it is able to perfectly replicate the inside of an original Mega Drive. And then just like the Atari 2600 Plus that we've got here, it pushes out a signal via HDMI so you can play it lovely on your new HD TVs. But the Atari 2600 Plus, just like my Retro Freak, is different. It's an emulation box trying to dump almost 50-year-old cartridges onto 2023 hardware. 9 times out of 10, that's not a problem. This system runs them almost perfectly every single time, warts and all. However, several games in my collection here during my testing would run instantly on my old hardware and then would take several attempts on the new hardware. Yes, there were few and far between. Out of the 30 odd games, I had about 5 of them that I really struggled to get working on the 2600 Plus, and 2 of them I just simply couldn't get to run whatsoever. Even though they run perfectly on the original Atari 2600, the 2600 Plus will just not run them. And just in case you were wondering, those games were Time Pilot and Popeye. Although weirdly, I've got 2 copies of Popeye with different labels. One took a few attempts before it worked, and the other I tried maybe 10 times, resetting, waiting a few seconds for it to dump, resetting again, waiting a few more seconds, resetting again. You get the idea. No matter what I tried, I could not get these 2 games to work. They all run fine on the original 2600, but not on the Plus. Perhaps after wearing them in a little bit more, these games will run on the new hardware, but as of right now, they only work on the 2600 original. And hey, I gotta say it as I sees it, right? At the end of the day, Atari is on a massive upswing, something I would have never thought I would be saying after the Indiegogo, Roller Coaster Tycoon, the crypto stuff, the hotels, the watches, yuck. But credit where credit is due, they are releasing some rather fantastic new games for old consoles, like Mr. Run and Jump here, which, honestly guys, is a brilliant little game. Berserk is a quality little upgrade from the original 2. That Atari 50 collection they released a year or 2 ago is without a doubt the greatest retro collection ever released. The Lego set is obviously stunning, and they're even creating new versions of old and new games that for the most part are being received incredibly well. And this 2600 Plus is a great way to continue on that high. If you are someone that has a massive stack of Atari 2600 and 7800 games, or you're someone that wants to get into collecting for this system, it's quite a cheap system to collect for, so I wouldn't blame you. It's a no-brainer. Again, I would totally do the same thing if Sega did this, and I hope they do. If you are one of those people, it's a great way to play probably 95% if not more of your Atari collection. Although I haven't tried them all, I would bet that the majority of the big name and first party games are going to run perfectly fine here. But for everyone else, simply put, this is an Atari 2600 released in 2023, no bells and whistles attached, besides the HDMI out. You already know if you're the sort of person that's going to buy this thing. Because at the end of the day, Atari are obsessed with releasing their games on compilations, and even though Atari 50 is by far the best of those compilations, if you just want to experience the best of what Atari 2600 has to offer, there are a crazy amount of ways to do that, much cheaper, easier, and officially than you can do with the Plus system. And for me, I'm just happy I have a new way of playing those old classic games again, and more importantly, I can get back into collecting for the Atari 2600. Massive thanks goes out to Atari for sending me this review unit, and of course an extra big shout out goes to Level Up Games for sending me their original hardware. If you want to go and buy the one found in this video, there's links down below. I don't get any money off the back of it, just go and support your retro game shops, guys. And look, thanks guys, hopefully I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.
And to be clear, I actually hope Atari succeeds for the main reason that I want there to be a reignition of the original console war between Intellivision and Atari. So of course I want them to succeed so I can kick their ass.